In a vast, desolate landscape, where the tranquility of the desert hides untold secrets, our story begins. In a neglected courtyard, two vehicles rest, as if waiting for something. The long shadows of dusk envelop them. In a dark room, two men speak gravely. One, wounded and covered in scars, mutters, "I'm sorry things ended this way, Professor." His eyes reflect exhaustion. The older man, his shirt wrinkled, shakes his head. "Don't say that, Commander Kong. I'm the one who should apologize for putting you in this situation." The air is thick. Kong looks down, his mind caught up in the failed mission. "They betrayed us," he hisses. "Those soldiers weren't ordinary. They were trained. They knew our moves. They ambushed us." His fist slams on the ground, unable to contain his frustration. This whole thing was a trap. A metallic noise cuts the moment short. The door to the alley slams open. The silhouette of a man is projected against the light, and something is thrown to the ground. Kong looks up. It is a body, bound, wounded, but still alive. The thud resounds and is faintly heard. The body on the ground moans faintly. Kong recognizes it instantly. "Sergeant Kim," he shouts, his face overflowing with rage and despair. His enemy, a shadow cut out in the light, responds with a malicious smile. "Do you want my service?" he says while holding his gun tightly. Kong stands up suddenly, his muscles tense, his gaze fixed on the intruder. "Wretch," he roars, but before he can act, the villain makes a swift movement. A brutal blow cuts through the air. Sergeant Kim's body flies like a doll, hitting the wall with a dry thud, which resonates in the alley. The mysterious figure slowly retreats, leaving behind an echo of mocking laughter. Kong falls to his knees, panting, his fist clenched on the ground. "Damn," he mutters under his breath, feeling the helplessness of the situation. "That bastard is playing with us." Behind him, a comrade staggers over. "Commander Kong, are you okay?" he asks, his voice heavy with concern. Kong nods slowly, not looking up. "I'm fine. How are the others?" he asks in a deep voice. The soldier, visibly exhausted, swallows hard before answering. "I don't know. They were taken somewhere else." His words hang in the air as the sound of footsteps draws closer again, dragging with it a new threat. Footsteps echo down the corridor. Kong and his partner turn sharply at the sound. The door opens with a metallic screech, and an imposing figure enters. His silhouette is shrouded in a cold aura, his eyes shining brightly behind a mask. "You are Commander Hamchan Kong?" he asks in a firm voice, breaking the silence of the place. Kong, bound but defiant, frowns. "Who is it?" he replies in a harsh tone, not looking away. The stranger tilts his head slightly, his tone changing, less rigid, but still authoritative. "I came to find you. Prisoners, follow me." The light behind the figure reveals bodies on the floor, their enemies down. Kong, though wary, notes that the intruder speaks Korean, albeit with difficulty. "What now?" he mutters as he watches cautiously. Without another word, the rescuer walks forward, his firm footsteps echoing down the corridor. "Run," he orders the group, leading the way to the exit. Bodies fall like leaves on a silent battlefield. Kong moves forward with a fixed gaze, his mind struggling to comprehend. "Did you take down all these men alone?" he wonders as he stares at the hooded stranger. "What division are you in? How many troops did they deploy?" Kong insists, waiting for logic behind the carnage. The man, calm but sharp, replies, "I came alone. I can't say who I work for." The words cut harder than any bullet. A metallic sound interrupts the tense march. A door at the back creaks, revealing an enemy peering cautiously. "It's one of them," Kong shouts, his voice heavy with urgency. "They'll know we're here." The hooded man doesn't wait. "Jump," he orders Kong as he launches himself like lightning toward the enemy. The air whistles as he dodges a shot, his movement fluid and deadly. In an instant, he's face to face with the adversary. A sharp blow. The enemy falls, his body collapsing before he understands what hit him. The sharp sound of a blow resounds. The hooded man disarms the enemy in one flawless move, his strike precise as lightning. Before the second man can react, a quick twist and a knife cuts through the air. It's all over in an instant. The body of the last adversary falls. Blood seeps onto the ground as the hooded man stands upright, his figure bathed in the faint light. His eyes gleam beneath the cloth covering his face. Kong stares in shock. What the? He disarmed those two men in an instant. Without even drawing his gun, the thought burns through his mind. His grip on the rifle loosens, unsure if it's still necessary. The hooded man turns. His voice, firm but calm, cuts through the tension. We must hurry. As he adjusts his rifle, he makes his intention clear. I'll take care of the rest of the enemies on the way. Don't use your rifle unless necessary, he tells them. Kong stands there silent for a few seconds, processing what he just heard. His grip on the rifle tightens as he stammers. Okay. In his mind, a phrase forms clearly. In other words, stay out of my way. Suddenly, gunfire breaks the tension. Bullets tear through the air and enemies fall, one after another with surgical precision. The hooded man moves like a shadow, dodging and firing without pause. His every action is lethal, calculated. Kong watches and knows he can't stay still. I should help him take this one down, he thinks as he raises his rifle. But an uncomfortable truth hits him. I guess we can't go quietly anymore. The hooded man keeps moving forward, agile as a ghost in the dimly lit hallway. Run, he shouts without looking back. Kong follows, the echo of the gunshots reverberating as they both run toward a new danger. Kong watches the hooded man charge into combat without hesitation, his mind filled with questions. Why is he charging at them? We should slow down and think before we act. The enemies in the hallway are caught off guard, exchanging words with confidence. But the hooded man doesn't give them time. He slides across the floor, almost invisible, and aims with deadly precision. His gaze is cold, calculating, as if he has already decided the fate of his enemies. The sound of gunfire is deafening. The men fall like broken dolls, unable to process what is happening. Kong, still paralyzed, raises his rifle. His hands shake, but his training pushes him to act. Aim, he tells himself as he aligns his weapon, trying to calm his breathing. The hooded man quickly reloads with precision. Without looking back, he continues advancing, like a machine designed to destroy. His shadow lengthens in the illuminated hallway. As Kong wonders, who is this man really? He's a beast, he murmurs. He's no ordinary soldier. Too bold, too unpredictable. He moves between the walls like a specter. Sergeant Kong breathes raggedly, holding his gun tightly. The hooded man calculates every step, every corner like a spy. Stop, he orders with a clenched fist. Kong hesitates but obeys. For what, he asks, sweating. Look, the spy answers, pointing at the two companions who come staggering. I didn't take into account that they would be so weak, the young man says, frustrated. His words are harsh, but there is some guilt in his gaze. I should have taken that into account no matter what the circumstances. That means he was calculating all this time, he murmurs. Looking at him closely, he notices that he has black eyes and that he speaks Korean well, although not perfectly. Kong asks him, he's Korean? He says it himself, right? The mysterious Haru falls silent and says, time to move. Through the undergrowth, the group advances quickly. Commander Kong leads, his rifle steady in his hands. Behind him, two figures stagger. One of them, the professor, who is helped by another man. Suddenly, a jeep appears in the distance. Armed men jump out excitedly at the sight. Commander Kong, they shout, running towards him. Kong, shocked, opens his eyes in disbelief. My platoon? But they had moved you somewhere else. How did you get here? One of his men replies, this man saved us. He told us to wait here and now he's back with you. The hooded man steps forward, his voice calm but firm. This is as far as I go. Continue southwest and you'll find someone waiting for you. Kong watches him for a moment and says sincerely, thank you. The other simply replies, forget it. I'm just fulfilling my contract. The commander muses on this silently. In his mind he says, a mercenary, just like I thought. Kong extends his hand towards the hooded mercenary, who watches him silently. With a grateful smile, Kong says, even if it's just a job for you, I want to thank you for your help. No matter the reason, you saved me and my men. The mercenary's eyes remain fixed, attentive. He doesn't respond immediately, but his gaze hardens. A distant sound breaks the moment. The landscape begins to blur as an explosion lights up the horizon, casting blinding flashes. The mercenary reacts immediately, his eyes widening urgently. Kong turns, his face showing surprise and concern. What's that noise? He asks. The mercenary's voice roars loudly. Get down! The men near the truck crouch down, alerted by the previous scream. Suddenly, a boom shakes the area. An explosion erupts loudly, lighting up the ground and raising a cloud of dust. Kong falls to the ground with the impact. His face shows pain as he brings his hands to his ears. Is that a mortar? I can't hear anything. The dust clears a bit, and Kong struggles to focus his gaze on the truck. What happened to my men and the professor? He wonders, alarmed. In the background, he sees his team. Although disoriented, they are alive. One of them shouts, "Okay." They're unharmed. Kong breathes a sigh of relief, but his expression changes as he hears a new sound. Gunshots. The sound of bullets fills the air. Kong looks toward the source of the attack as enemy fire continues. Smoke and gunshots fill the field. Kong looks at the lone gunman, who continues to fire without stopping. Is he still fighting on his own? The gunman, with disheveled blonde hair, holds the rifle steady. Bullets come out one after another, accompanied by the echo of their sound. Kong stares at him, incredulous. His face tenses. "What they?" he mutters. His eyes fix on the gunman's face. Finally, he understands. His expression changes. He shouts in surprise, "He's just a kid!" A clear sky covers JHS. In one classroom, uniformed students murmur amongst themselves. "My goodness, he's so handsome," a girl says as she looks ahead, a slight blush on her cheeks. A boy, with a bored expression and a carefree demeanor, leans back in his seat. He thinks, "Who the hell is this jerk?" The teacher enters the classroom, accompanied by a gray-haired student. "We have a new student joining us," she announces. The young man, with a calm voice, introduces himself. "Nice to meet you. I'm Ijin Yu." Meanwhile, in another classroom, a girl writes in her notebook. The sound of the mechanical pencil echoes. She looks up and quietly comments, "His class must have already started." Another student bursts into the classroom running, with an excited expression. She shouts, "Girls, listen to this." The others look at her expectantly as she exclaims, "I just saw a really cute boy. He transferred today and is in his 3rd year." The girl with short hair and a bow on her uniform thinks to herself, "Maybe he saw my brother." She closes her eyes with a slight sigh. She writes in her notebook, "My brother." Her thoughts become deeper. "I thought my brother had died along with my parents in the plane crash." A plane lands at Terminal 2. "I never imagined I would return after 10 years. Inside the immigration office, the girl looks into the distance. Her eyes widen in amazement. The gray-haired young man is grabbed by the face by an older man who looks at him with tears in his eyes. "It's you. You're alive. You were alive all these years." The man hugs him tightly, his teary eyes filling the silence. In the distance, the girl watches them in disbelief. "Is he my brother?" The gray-haired boy looks confused, his eyes wandering, and his lips muttering something inaudible. The girl is even more surprised to hear, "You must be Dan." The boy smiles slightly, as if his words are seeking to confirm what they both feel. Suddenly, a voice bursts into her mind, breaking the moment. "Wake up, Dan." Her expression changes. Her eyes snap open, the world around her distorted. Daeyeon is distracted in the classroom. A voice snaps her out of her thoughts. "Hey, asshole. Do you have any idea how many times I had to yell your name?" Daeyeon, shocked, stammers, "Sorry. I was distracted," she says. The blonde girl pays no attention to the apology and continues. "Bring me your gym uniform later." "You brought it, right?" Daeyeon answers somewhat nervously. "Yeah, but if I give it to you, what am I going to wear?" The blonde smiles intimidatingly and asks in a cold tone, "What did you just say?" The atmosphere in the classroom tenses. The blonde, without giving her a chance to respond, adds, "Don't answer me, bitch." Her hand rises and a loud plash is heard. Daeyeon is stunned by the blow, while the blonde continues, "That's your problem? Damn it. Not mine." Another girl, with a sarcastic tone, mutters as she watches the scene. "I've been too nice to you lately, haven't I?" The blonde's final words cut through the air. "Maybe you'll learn to shut your mouth with a good beating in front of everyone." Daeyeon looks down silently, her expression grim, as the classroom bell flashes the number 3 to 2. A teacher's voice breaks the silence. "We have a new student joining us." The teacher introduces the new student. He's been living abroad for a long time, so I hope everyone will help him adjust. As the gray-haired boy stands in front of the classroom, murmurings begin among the girls. My God, he's so handsome. In contrast, a blond boy with a carefree expression watches from his seat, while another, with curly hair and an orange jacket, looks at him with obvious disgust. In his mind echoes, what's so handsome about this jerk? He just looks like an idiot. The teacher signals to the new student, you can take the seat behind. Yes, miss, he answers calmly, as he walks to the back of the classroom. His footsteps echo in the room. The eyes of the boy in the orange jacket lock on him. His hardened expression accompanies a thought. He's stupid. He wants to take his time, and thinks with a mix of sarcasm and defiance. Let's see how he gets out of this. As the new guy walks, his foot slips. The shoe stops just in time, close to Jaehyung's, who watches the scene intently, exclaiming in his mind, shit, it was just the right moment. With gritted teeth, Jaehyung gives a hostile look while his voice rings out with mockery and defiance. What are you looking at? The new guy, unfazed, watches him calmly. Jaehyung thinks, incredulously, I can't believe it. Is this asshole analyzing me right now? Then, Jaehyung issues him a direct challenge. What do you want? Asshole? Do you have a problem? A warning from the past resonates in the new guy's mind. Remember, Ijin, when you go back to Korea, you must not get involved in any fights. In the cafeteria, Ijin, with a calm expression, replies, I know, sir. The casually dressed Commander Kong in front of him looks at him with slight concern. Really? I was just worried. Ijin remains calm and states, I wouldn't enter any combat situation without sufficient information about the surroundings. The shocked Commander Kong listens as Ijin continues. Commander Kong, I survived several battlefields over the past 10 years because I'm a professional. When Ijin raises his hand in a pause gesture, Kong quickly stops him. Wait, I'm not talking about that. In the classroom, someone's inner voice echoes. I'm saying this for the well-being of the poor kid who's up against you. Jaehyung, in a defiant tone, snaps at Ijin. Didn't you hear me? What the hell are you looking at? Do you want to die? Ijin's expression remains calm, and the teacher asks him, is there a problem? He addresses the teacher in a neutral voice. The teacher looks at the situation calmly. Ijin smiles slightly and replies politely, no, Mississippi, sorry. Ijin walks calmly, while Jaehyung, sitting, watches him from the corner of his eye and mutters to himself, fucking coward. He's a loser. He chuckles. In the classroom, the teacher gives instructions. Yangshan, help him get ready for the first class. Yangshan obediently replies, yes. Meanwhile, Ijin settles into his seat. The teacher says goodbye, saying, have fun in your classes. I'll see you later. Yangshan walks over with a friendly smile. Hi, I'm Yangshan Park. Ijin, with a calm tone, replies, yep. Yangshan looks at him curiously and comments, your name is Ijin Yu, right? Lowering his voice, Yangshan tells him in a confidential tone, I hope you're not too nervous about what just happened. I saw how Jaehyung tried to trip you. He then discreetly points at Jaehyung and explains, it's him, Jaehyung Lee. You need to watch out for two boys in our class. Yangshan continues to explain to Ijin in a low voice, Jaehyung Lee and the one sitting behind him, Hyuk Jinju. Our homeroom teacher is pretty calm. Meanwhile, Jaehyung demands something from someone with phone in hand. Give it to me. Ijin, watching, hears Yangshan say, oh, and today's first class is math. Ijin replies, thank you. Yangshan, smiling, replies, you're welcome. Seems nice. What a relief. He then adds, ask me anything you want. I'll help you in any way I can. The teacher enters the classroom, serious, and announces, open your books to page 47. With a piece of chalk in hand, he begins to write a math calculation on the board. The students, some attentive and some distracted, watch in silence. Ijin stares ahead while Yangshan, next to him, yawns openly. He gives a slight smile. He looks ahead, pensive, while in the classroom some students remain asleep and others laugh among themselves. A slight murmur and the movement of pages break the monotony of the room. The scene changes. Heavy rain falls in a dark environment. Ijin, with a determined expression, holds a weapon as he advances between moving figures. The sound of water and chaos surround him. Ijin's face is shown full of wounds and determination. His heavy breathing resonates in the surroundings as more figures move through a swamp, with weapons in their hands. The sun illuminates a fight scene. Aijin, along with others, pushes hard against what seems to be a barrier. His muscles tense as he screams with effort. Aijin takes aim with precision, his eyes fixed and determination on his face. A shot rings out. The impact hits a target, leaving clear imprints on the target. His thoughts arise as he looks around. This place is so peaceful. Sunlight streams through the windows, illuminating the empty classroom as he remains seated. Outside, the sky is tinted with soft colors. Students walk around the campus, chatting and laughing. Someone asks, "Who is that?" A group of girls notices his presence. One of them comments in surprise, "Look, he's blushing." Aijin waits by a door as a girl calls out to him. "Aijin?" She looks at him, surprised, and asks, "Were you waiting for me?" He answers calmly as she, with a mix of surprise and excitement, says, "Yes, I wanted to come home with you, unless you have other plans." She nervously replies, "No, I don't have any other plans." But Aijin looks at her calmly and says, "Then let's go home together." She smiles slightly, replying, "Okay." The sky begins to turn warm as they walk. In silence, their gazes briefly meet, both of them with ellipses in their thoughts. Aijin breaks the silence. "It's awkward, isn't it?" She answers hastily in surprise, "Of course not. It's not awkward, really." He tells her with a small smile, "Don't feel bad about it. It's pretty weird for me, too." She looks down, thoughtful, and says, "I was 9 when the accident happened, and I don't remember much about you or Grandpa. I guess I just remember some feelings." Squeezing the straps of her backpack, she adds, "It must have been weirder for you. You were only 7. The image zooms out, showing the entrance of a house illuminated in the afternoon. Daeyeon walks beside Aijin in silence. Suddenly, with doubts in her mind, she asks, "When will Huijin arrive?" Aijin looks at her, and she stops. From inside a shop, a voice replies in annoyance, "I've already repeated it 1,000 times. He'll be here soon." Daeyeon insists, "What exact time?" The girl in the shop, with rollers in her hair, replies exasperatedly, "How would I know?" She then calls her directly. "Daeyeon, you?" Daeyeon, with growing nervousness, asks herself, What should I do?" From inside, another person comments, "Who is that?" The girl with the rollers replies, "It's the girl who hates Huijin." The other replies, With a mocking smile, the girl with the rollers adds, "Are you going back home with your boyfriend?" Daeyeon, surprised, widens her eyes, while Aijin remains expressionless. The girl throws out another scathing line, "I didn't know a bitch like you could get a date." Daeyeon nervously replies, "No, he's not. He's my brother." The girl in the shop scoffs again. "Your brother? I didn't know you had a brother." Aijin looks at Daeyeon and calmly asks, "Is she a friend of yours?" Daeyeon, her voice shaking, replies, "Yes, she's a friend from my class." The roller girl replies sharply, "Of course not, bitch." With a sarcastic smile, she continues, "Did you just call me your friend?" A confused Daeyeon replies sheepishly. The girl persists, mocking, "I'm asking if you really think I'm your friend." Daeyeon tries to explain, but only says, "No, Aijin watches silently, but his expression hardens when someone, in a threatening tone, asks, "What the fuck are you looking at?" He and Dan look at a man who, with a defiant attitude, warns, "You better watch yourself, you might get hurt." From inside, the roller girl mockingly comments, "Son of a bitch." The man next to her adds, "He keeps staring at us." Aijin watches them coldly, and in his thoughts the question arises, "Are you trying to start a fight?" Meanwhile, the man with the provocative attitude walks forward and says, "Hey, asshole, didn't you hear me?" The man approaches with a defiant stance. A question pops into Aijin's mind. Why is he rushing and exposing himself like that? A firm voice echoes in his memory, "Don't fight." Aijin watches the man approach, his expression remaining calm. He thinks, "Maybe I should leave." The man grabs him by the clothes and shouts furiously, "Answer me, you moron." Daeyeon, desperate, bows deeply and exclaims, "I'm so sorry." The man, annoyed, begins to justify himself. "My brother lived abroad most of his life, and he still hasn't adapted to Korean customs." Meanwhile, the roller girl lets out a mocking laugh. Daeyeon, trembling, still bent over, listens to the direct question tremblingly. The man tightens his grip on Aijin's clothes as he screams in fury, "What do I care if this idiot lived abroad? What the fuck does he have to do with this? Huh. Aijin watches him calmly, without answering. His eyes narrow, and his glare intensifies. Daeyeon, his face full of worry, can't hide his nervousness. Suddenly, a dry sound is heard. Crack! Aijin moves his arm, and something on the attacker's wrist bends unnaturally. The man screams, "What the fuck? My wrist hurts like a motherfucker." An object falls to the ground with a hollow thud. Aijin drops his backpack, steps forward, and stands in front of Daeyeon. She's still in shock, looks at him and stammers. Jean tells Dan while smiling, "Wait here for a minute." She, bewildered. He gently slides his jacket over her, covering her as he adds, "Just a minute." The furious man screams, "Son of a bitch," and throws a punch at Aijin with all his might. Aijin easily dodges it, his gaze cold. The attacker's fist schemes through the air. In an instant, the impact is unavoidable. Aijin lands a direct hit. The man falls back, screaming, as his body hits the chairs, sending them flying. The people around watch in shock. The woman with curlers and the man in a white shirt quickly stand up upon hearing the noise. Aijin, with a serious expression, mutters to himself, "I guess I couldn't keep my promise to the commander." Aijin stands imposingly, with his serious gaze and his relaxed, but firm fist. On the ground, the man who attacked him lies unconscious, with blood running down his face. His breathing is heavy and gurgling. The man in the white shirt watches the scene with a frown, while a drop of sweat runs down his face. He mutters with a mix of fear and anger, "Shit." Then, with a bewildered expression, he asks, "Who the hell is this guy?"
Check it out.
The sun begins to rise on the horizon, tinting the sky with warm hues. In a training field, a group of soldiers runs in formation, counting aloud. Commander Kong, wearing a black t-shirt with the emblem of his unit, watches the scene with a serious expression. From behind, another soldier approaches and speaks. "Commander." The commander crosses his arms and asks, "Today, right?" The soldier nods. "I mean, it's Aijin's first day of school, sir." The commander responds without hesitation, "That's right." As they watch the training field, the commander comments, "We've trained him for 6 months, but I'm still worried. He's lived in a very hostile place since he was 9. I hope he doesn't have trouble adapting back home." With a confident smile, he adds, "My special classes about life in Korea will surely be enough." The soldier by his side responds with certainty, "Of course, sir." Meanwhile, at the school, the impact is brutal. The man in the white jacket is sent flying and crashes to the ground. His expression is calm, but his words reflect something else, murmurs the young Aijin. "I guess I couldn't keep my promise to the commander." Standing under the sunlight, his figure remains steadfast. His white shirt still impeccable, his tie only slightly disheveled from the motion. On the ground, the unconscious man's eyes roll back. "I can't believe he passed out from a single hit." Another man, dressed in a shirt and tie, takes a step back. Aijin maintains a slight smile. Without hesitation, he charges. With inhuman speed, he rushes towards another man who was preparing to fight. A single blow, and the opponent's body arches from the impact. His face reflects pure astonishment before being lifted off the ground. The impact sends the man flying through the air. His scream blends with the sound of dishes and cups shattering. His body spins in the air, his face filled with terror. He crashes to the ground violently. Aijin remains standing, impassive, his gaze fixed on his defeated opponent. The woman with rollers in her hair watches the scene in shock. Her lips tremble. Aijin slowly approaches her. The woman looks at him intently, sweating, her eyes reflecting tension. "Aijin?" exclaims Daeyeon, surprised. She thinks, "What happened?" "He covered my eyes with his jacket for a minute." Meanwhile, on the ground, the unconscious men barely react. Aijin stares intently at the woman with the rollers. She lowers her head, sweating and trembling. They both walk silently down the restaurant's walkway. Aijin meets Daeyeon. "Sorry, did I scare you?" Aijin asks. Daeyeon looks confused. "I have an idea," says Aijin. "How about we buy some food from the store? Do you fancy anything?" "No, I'm fine." responds Daeyeon. Are you sure? Aijin insists. Daeyeon looks at him silently. Aijin scratches his neck, and then says, so. Daeyeon hands him the jacket. Aijin receives it with a slight smile. Thanks, he tells her. The woman with the rollers looks astonished. What the hell? She recalls Aijin's gaze from earlier, cold and calculating, in stark contrast to his current expression, serene and kind. How can he be the same guy who looked at me just a moment ago? She watches Aijin and Daeyeon together, talking naturally. Daeyeon says goodbye. See you later. Aijin watches her in silence. The woman with the rollers remains paralyzed, her mind blank as she watches them walk away. The sunset paints the sky when Daeyeon breaks the silence. So, was it you who did that to those guys? Aijin responds without hesitation. Yes. Daeyeon lowers her head slightly. How strange. He doesn't seem like someone who would look for a fight, she thinks. Daeyeon and Aijin continue their walk as the sky is stained with the colors of sunset. The thing is, Daeyeon says, in Korea, it's rude to look at people the way you did. Aijin listens in silence. It could get you into awkward situations like that. Aijin responds calmly. Where I come from, making eye contact can also be risky. Daeyeon looks at him curiously. Depending on the opponent, it could be dangerous. Really? Daeyeon asks. So, why did you look at them that way? Aijin turns his face toward her but doesn't respond immediately. Daeyeon watches him, her eyes wide as if expecting something. Aijin speaks naturally. Because it seemed like they were bothering you. Daeyeon reacts, surprised. She falls silent for a few seconds, looking ahead. Suddenly, her face turns red. Aijin watches her, noticing her change in expression. The silence stretches between them as they continue walking. Aijin thinks to himself, did I say something weird? Night falls over the city, the house lights illuminating the inside. Aijin, why don't you let me do it? Says the grandfather, sweating nervously. Just sit down and have some fruit. Aijin, wearing an apron, responds with a smile. I've got this, Grandpa. I can wash the dishes myself. Just sit back and relax. The grandfather sighs. Good heavens. He sits on the sofa next to Daeyeon, who watches him in silence. From the dining room, the grandfather looks worriedly at Aijin washing the dishes. The clatter of utensils echoes from the kitchen. The grandfather watches him quietly as the clinking continues. I hope dinner was okay, says the grandfather. I did what I could, but I was never good at cooking. Don't say that, Grandpa. Aijin responds without turning around. I've been eating very well, and all the food was delicious. The grandfather looks at him with a thoughtful expression. How was your first day of school? Anything interesting happen? Aijin pauses for a moment, sponge in hand. Aijin pauses his task for a moment and looks back. Well, he says calmly. Daeyeon, with a piece of fruit in her mouth, stops and watches him, surprised. It was okay, Aijin replies as he continues with his work. The grandfather smiles with relief. I'm glad. The night progresses, the house lights illuminating the windows. Good night, Grandpa. Sleep well. In his room, Aijin lies down on the bed, staring at the ceiling. Moonlight streams through the window, illuminating his face. He recalls the moment his grandfather hugged him with tears in his eyes. I'm so glad you came back alive. It's truly a miracle. He remembers his grandfather's words, the warmth of his hands on his own. They said you don't remember much from your childhood. Don't worry. The important thing is that you're alive. In his mind, he sees the image of his grandfather smiling. Eat, says the grandfather. I didn't know what food you like, so I hope this is okay. Aijin looks at the table full of dishes. Warm light illuminates the scene. His eyes look up, his expression remaining calm. A family, he whispers. Suddenly, the sound of a beep echoes in the darkness. The atmosphere changes, blurred lights and flickering ads. The rattle of something shakes the space. People appear, screaming. Oxygen masks drop as chaos erupts in an airplane cabin. Aijin pulls one to his face, his eyes wide open. The shaking doesn't stop. Some hands grip him tightly. The sound booms, his breathing quickens. Flames engulf the airplane. Aijin's eyes snap open. He sits up abruptly. Air brushes his skin, cold sweat on his forehead. He covers his face with a hand. It was a dream. The sound of the clock fills the room. Aijin keeps his gaze low, his thoughts still trapped in the dream. He sits on the edge of the bed, the cold morning air brushing against his skin. He turns towards the door. The sun enters through the window, illuminating his face. He stands up and opens the door. "Did you get up? I was about to come wake you," says Danny Eon from the kitchen, wearing a blue apron and a kind smile. Aijin watches her before asking, "Where's Grandpa?" "He left for work at dawn." "To work?" "Yes, he took a few days off to be with you when you came back." She adjusts her school uniform. "And today is his first day back at work." Aijin looks at his sister. She raises a hand, waving goodbye. "I have to go. I need to get to school early. There's food ready on the table, so don't forget to have breakfast." She quickly puts on her shoes and leaves. The door closes. Aijin walks to the kitchen. He remains silent. He looks at the table. A plentiful meal is served. The school building shines under the sun. The sign on the door reads, 1 to 5. "So, that student who transferred was her brother?" asks a blonde woman with crossed arms. "Yes," replies the other woman, with a bead of sweat on her forehead. In a convenience store, chairs and cans are scattered on the floor. "My God, are you okay?" The woman with rollers kneels next to the man in a white shirt on the floor. How could he knock them out with just one hit? The injured man looks on with frustration. "Do you think I'm okay?" Huijin watches the scene, astonished. "What's going on?" Huijin blinks, nervous. A figure approaches. "Huijin." She doesn't respond. "Huijin? Didn't you hear me? What's happening here?" Huijin lowers her gaze. "Well, it's just that." She thinks for a moment. "Shouldn't we stop bothering Daeyeon?" She remembers an intense gaze. Her breathing quickens. "His look scared me to death." She clenches her hands tightly. "No, I'm sure everything will be fine." She looks off into the distance. Huijin's brother and his gang pretty much run the school. A student walks down the stairs. Two peers chat nearby. The blow echoes. Daeyeon's head jerks from the impact. She exclaims, bringing her hand to the side of her head. Huijin, with a look of superiority, watches her from the top of the stairs. "Don't exaggerate, bitch," she says with a scornful smile. Daeyeon looks at her, still rubbing her head. "What do you want?" she asks. The blonde leans on the railing, one hand in her pocket. "Come with me for a second." "Where?" Daeyeon responds, her nervousness evident. The blonde's eyes turn cold. "Excuse me?" she repeats, as if the question were absurd. Her lips curve into a cruel smile. "Did you really think having a brother would change your situation?" Daeyeon swallows hard, but doesn't respond. The blonde takes a step closer. "Shut up and follow me." Her gaze hardens. "Unless you prefer to get beaten up right here." The scene changes. A sign reads "Recycling Station." A foot strikes hard. Daeyeon falls against the trash bags. From above, the blonde looks down at her indifferently. "Daeyeon, didn't I tell you to keep a low profile?" Daeyeon, on the ground, cradles her arm in pain. "What are you talking about?" The blonde lowers her gaze slightly, her foot firmly on the ground. "Don't play dumb with me, bitch. I'm talking about yesterday." Daeyeon, nervous, presses her lips together. The blonde calmly checks her phone. "It seems your brother thinks he's the biggest badass around," she says, typing on the screen. "Which explains why our dear Daeyeon is acting this way." Her tone turns mocking. "What a pity." Her eyes darken. "Because your brother is in for a hell of a welcome at JH's high school." "What do you mean by that?" Daeyeon asks, her face tense. Huijin leans in slightly with a mocking smile. "Do you know who your brother messed with yesterday?" Daeyeon stares at her, her hands clenching the ground. "They are my brother's friends." Huijin keeps her expression calm. "And they should be visiting him right about now." Daeyeon's eyes widen in shock. "What are you trying to do to my brother?" she screams, her face reddening with fury. Huijin slaps her hard. "Shut up, you damn bitch." Daeyeon falls to the ground, the impact resonating against her skin. Her eyes tremble. Tears start to gather in her eyelids. Aijin is in trouble. The pain mixes with distress. And it's my fault. She clenches her teeth, holding back the tears. She gets up. Huijin's eyes widen in surprise as she sees Daeyeon picking herself back up. What they? Daeyeon turns around and starts running. Don't you run away from me. Damn it! The blonde yells. The door plate reads 3-2. Inside the classroom, murmurs spread. Some students watch from the doorway, shocked. In the hallway, the conversations intensify. Two boys, Jaehyung and Hyukjin, appear in a new scene. In another hallway, a group of boys walks with serious expressions. Aijin, inside the classroom, turns his head. Alert. The three boys from the hallway enter the room. One of them, a bulky guy now sporting a bandage on his nose, fixes his gaze on Aijin. A young man with reddish hair and a confident smile advances behind the group. Daeyeon bursts into the classroom, breathing heavily. Her uniform is dirty, her expression tense. Aijin looks at her, surprised, and wonders aloud, "Daeyeon." His gaze meets that of the burly man. Daeyeon tries to speak, but her voice trembles. Her blouse is stained. Aijin's eyes sharpen. Heavens, did your sister come because she was worried about you? Mocks the burly man. The red-haired boy smirks. My sister just whines and bugs me to do everything for her. Shut up. Huijin leans against the door indifferently. I'll start caring the day someone actually beats you up. Aijin remains silent, his expression impenetrable. Daeyeon clenches her teeth, her eyes filled with tension. Further ahead, a door opens, casting a cold light into the darkness. Daeyeon stands in the threshold, panting. Aijin watches her from inside. Without hesitation, he starts walking toward her. The dark hallway seems to swallow his shadow. Back in classroom 3-2, the atmosphere is noisy. Students chat, some getting ready for class. A chalk eraser falls onto a desk with a dry sound. The boy who received it lowers his gaze, sweating nervously. Before he can react, another eraser hits his head with a thud. Right in the head. Jaehyung smiles in satisfaction. Did you see that? I hit him twice in a row. His companion looks at him seriously. Give me your eraser. The student hands over the eraser with a trembling hand. Hyukjin grabs it, winds up with force, and throws it precisely. The eraser flies at high speed. It hits the previous student squarely on the head with a dry thump. That's it. That's how it's done. Damn it. Hyukjin shouts excitedly. That wasn't a great shot, man. Jaehyung responds, his expression relaxed. You're shooting with a sorry pistol, but I'm hitting him with a rifle. Ha ha. Sure. Jaehyung says, though in his mind he admits it was a good shot. He smirks maliciously, lifting his own eraser. Then I'll hit him with my rifle. He throws the eraser with all his might. The impact is brutal. Both watch puzzled. The eraser falls to the ground with a soft thud. Aijin calmly picks up his backpack while his classmate, still tense, watches him. Man, Jaehyung mutters. That jerk is starting to get on my nerves. Hyukjin smirks slyly. Then we'll have a talk with him to set him straight. How about we call him after class? He says with a broader smile. Jaehyung smiles back. Good. In his seat, Aijin's classmate looks at him nervously. Aijin adjusts his tie and asks, Are you okay? Yes, I'm fine. The other responds, forcing a smile as the two boys watch them from a distance. They laugh among themselves. Aijin watches them silently. On the classroom screen, a message appears that reads, It's coming. Are you doing anything after class, Aijin? His classmate asks. Aijin's classmate smiles. If you don't have plans, we could hang out near the school. Aijin responds calmly. I don't think I can today. I'm walking home with my sister. The boy's eyes widen in surprise. Your sister? Did she transfer with you? Aijin shakes his head. No, she was here before I arrived. What's her name? The other asks, curious. Daeyeon. The boy is shocked. Daeyeon? The freshman? Yes. Do you know her? Well. He stammers, nervous. Aijin watches him intently. It's just... Your sister hasn't been having a good time at school these days. Aijin keeps his gaze steady. What do you mean? The boy hesitates before speaking. She was very popular before starting high school because she was so pretty and smart. The memory of several students surrounding her flashes in his mind. Many boys liked her during those years. But then, the image of a group of girls talking among themselves appears. But one girl who got jealous started bullying her at school. Aijin looks at his classmate seriously. And nobody said anything? The boy lowers his gaze, uncomfortable. Well, the girl's brother is Jisoo Kim, one of the worst bullies in this school. Aijin repeats the name with interest. Jisoo Kim. The classmate sighs. And things got worse in high school for Daeyeon because they are in the same class. He pauses before continuing. It got so bad that everyone is surprised Daeyeon still comes to this school. Aijin maintains his neutral expression. So, that girl liked a boy who liked Daeyeon, and that's the only reason they're bullying her. Aijin's classmate closes his eyes. Things usually start for a stupid reason. An eraser falls onto the desk. People like them don't need a special reason to mistreat someone. The scene changes. A plate of food is placed on the table. You're starting school soon, right? Aijin is sitting with his grandfather and Daeyeon. The grandfather smiles. I hope you can adapt well. Aijin responds calmly. Don't worry, Grandpa. The old man continues. It's just that you've spent so much time living abroad. Then he looks at Daeyeon kindly. Daeyeon, you're doing very well in school, aren't you? Daeyeon smiles energetically. Of course. You know I do well, Grandpa. The grandfather laughs softly. That's why I've never had to worry about you, Daeyeon. He looks at Aijin confidently. She has been an exemplary student, and her teachers always speak very highly of her, Aijin. Aijin smiles faintly. Really? Daeyeon, with her fork in hand, maintains a calm expression as she looks at her food. Aijin remains silent. Back at school, his classmate looks at him with concern. Are you okay? Aijin responds calmly. Yes, thanks for telling me. The classmate lowers his voice slightly. Everyone knows about the situation, but I hope it doesn't worry you too much. Aijin looks at him without responding. Suddenly, the classroom door bursts open. A boy in a white jacket enters with an aggressive demeanor, kicking a chair. The students react with surprise. Murmurs. From the hallway, a group of students strides in firmly. Jaehyung and Hyukjin are surprised to see them in the classroom. What are you doing in our class? Jisoo Kim smiles confidently. We're here to take care of a problem. Jaehyung and Hyukjin are shocked. Jisoo? His partner looks at him tensely. What is he doing here? In his mind, Hyukjin thinks, damn, I can handle the others, but Jisoo Kim is a different story. One of the boys discreetly points out. That's him. Jisoo Kim watches with interest. Aijin slowly rises from his seat. The big guy with a bandage on his nose yells angrily. You idiots, you got beaten up by a weakling like that? The other tries to justify. I told you, he caught us off guard. Jisoo Kim scratches his ear. Annoyed. Idiots. I'm tired of hearing your excuses. Aijin interrupts him. Jisoo Kim looks at him. Aijin, yes, you idiot. Jisoo Kim smirks mockingly and wags his finger, calling him over. Come here. His partner watches him nervously. Aijin? Jaehyung and Hyukjin watch the scene seriously. I don't know what he did to anger Jisoo Kim, but now he's in trouble. Aijin advances with a serious look. So, you're Jisoo Kim? Jisoo Kim smirks mockingly. I didn't think you'd have time to find out who I am. Aijin looks at him silently, his expression unchanging. Jisoo Kim turns to his companions. Can you believe this idiot keeps staring at me? His smile becomes crueler. Don't just stand there. Go get him. One of Jisoo Kim's henchmen steps forward. A scream bursts into the room. Daeyeon rushes in, her uniform stained and her breathing ragged. Aijin sees her and his expression changes. Daeyeon's lips part, trembling. The stain on her uniform is visible, dark and dirty. Aijin's eyes focus. Jisoo Kim smirks mockingly. Look, it's Huijin's errand girl. Daeyeon tenses up, nervous. Jisoo Kim continues in his sarcastic tone. Did your sister come because she was worried about her brother? How sweet. Huijin responds coldly. My sister just complains and nags me to do everything for her. Shut up. A female voice is heard from the door. I'll worry the day someone actually beats you up. Huijin, gasping. Damn bitch. You made me run all over the school. You're pretty fast, damn. Daeyeon, with a reddened and wounded face, looks at them with contained rage. Jisoo Kim keeps his confident smile, surrounded by his group. Ijin observes the scene, his expression hardens. Daeyeon, with tears in her eyes, stammers. Sorry, Ijin, I got you into this. Huijin lets out a mocking laugh. How dramatic. Ijin says her name firmly. Daeyeon, you have no reason to apologize. Ijin's fist strikes hard against one of the aggressors. The blow sends him to the ground immediately. The others look on in shock. Ijin, without changing his expression, says calmly, they are the ones who should be apologizing, not you. One of the thugs, in fury, charges at Ijin, yelling, Son of a bitch! Ijin moves quickly. Ijin's movement is swift. His arm slides with precision. The impact is felt in the aggressor's chest. Pain races through his body. Saliva flies from his mouth. His body hits the ground, coughing breathlessly. Ijin stands firm, his back straight, his gaze unyielding. One of the thugs is stunned. Another, in a burst of fury, yells, Bastard! He charges violently, but Ijin moves. Ijin's strike sends the aggressor reeling backward. His body twists in the air before it crashes. Jisoo Kim watches the scene, his face tense and surprised, saying, What the hell? His companions are on the ground, dazed. What just happened? The two fallen try to get up, but their bodies tremble. Jaehyung and Hyukjin look at Ijin, amazed. They watch the scene with their eyes wide open, and others are just as surprised. Ijin walks firmly through the classroom and says, I heard my sister is having a tough time, so you guys are responsible for that, right? The students watch the scene. Whispers and nervous glances sweep through the hallway. Jisoo Kim locks eyes with Ijin. After all, you're not a weakling. The two downed continue on the ground, breathing heavily. Ijin remains silent. A firm step echoes. Son of a bitch, he yells. Jisoo Kim advances furiously. Answer me, you idiot. His punch heads straight for Ijin. I got him, he thinks. Ijin touches his head. His gaze sharpens. Jisoo Kim's eyes open wide in surprise. Shit, did he block it? His mind races. He won't see this one coming. With speed, he throws a kick. The impact is strong. But then Ijin grabs the attacker's leg. Jisoo Kim is startled. The blow sends him crashing to the ground. With a bloodied face, the boy holds his face. Shit, he says. His eyes fill with terror. Ijin watches him from above, silently. Jisoo Kim, with a bloodied face, looks up. In front of him, Ijin watches silently. The atmosphere is tense. Jisoo Kim swallows hard, still touching his mouth. Ijin doesn't move. In an instant, Ijin's leg rises. The impact is brutal. Jisoo Kim is sent flying and hits the ground hard. Silence fills the room. Everyone present watches the scene. Some students are in shock. Holy shit! I can't believe it! He just knocked out Jisoo Kim. Jaehyung and Hyukjin react with terror. Daeyeon covers her mouth, unable to process what she just saw. Huijin is also left stunned. Ijin remains standing, surrounded by incredulous looks. Whispers flood the room. What just happened? Some ask. Ijin walks calmly. Huijin and his friend watch him nervously. Ijin keeps his cool gaze. His fist clenches. You're not going to hit me too, are you? Huijin's eyes widen in fear. Daeyeon grabs his arm. Stop, she says. Ijin looks at her. But they've been harassing you all this time. Weren't they doing it today as well? Daeyeon looks at Ijin in surprise. But how did he know? Her face flushes. Wait a minute. She looks at Ijin, still holding her arm. Is he fighting for me again? She smiles sweetly. I'm okay now, she says with a smile. Seriously, so please stop, okay? Aijin watches her silently. All right, let's go. I'll walk you to your class. Okay. She takes a step forward, still blushing. Some students are left murmuring. What happened? Did that guy just take down Jisoo Kim's gang all by himself? Jaehyung and Hyukjin say to each other, wow, that guy is really tough, right? Good thing we didn't try to attack him by surprise. Aijin's classmate is still shocked. Huijin thinks, they're such idiots. Aijin walks down the hallway with the girl. I guess you're really good at fighting. It surprised me. Well, I guess so. She looks down. I'm sorry. Aijin watches her. Why? Because I got you into this mess. She clenches her hands. Yesterday, you had to fight because of me. And now this happened. Don't say that. It's supposed to be that way. She looks at him, surprised. Aijin continues walking, silently. His mind drifts to another place. Where he used to live. Everyone minded their own business. They never cared about what happened to others, as long as they themselves didn't have to suffer. Aijin keeps looking forward. But even those people would sometimes react differently. She watches him intently. Only when their families got involved. Their families. Yep. Gunshots echo in Aijin's memory. Bullets whiz through the air. Explosions shake the ground. Fighters move among the flames. Screams and gunfire fill the chaos. In the brush, a silhouette watches. Aijin's eyes, from his past, reflect the war. It always made me think. What is a family? Aijin, standing amid the destruction, looks at the man kneeling before him. The sun shines behind his silhouette. A child steps forward, face hardened by determination, shielding a girl clutching a stuffed rabbit. And why is family so important? His sister's voice brings him back to reality. But you barely remember me and Grandpa. Aijin looks at her. That's true. And I still don't remember much from back then. Aijin smiles faintly. But that doesn't change the fact that we are family. His sister looks at him quietly, a thoughtful expression on her face. They walk together through the hallway, surrounded by students. Glances are cast at them. Whispers and comments float in the air. Look, it's him. She seems astonished as she continues to walk alongside Aijin. I'm fine now, you should go back to your class. But I was going to walk you to yours. In front of classroom 1 to 5, she calmly responds. And you did. This is my class. Aijin looks at her, surprised. She smiles softly and says, see you later. As she enters her class, a voice resonates behind him. Come in. Aijin steps forward, moving down the hallway with a calm expression. Whispers fill the hallway. He's back. Aijin enters the classroom silently. All eyes are on him. The whispers continue, but he keeps moving forward. Man, you crushed those idiots. What did they teach you abroad? Yeah, dude. You wiped them out like they were nothing. Seeing Jisoo run away like that was incredible. You were awesome, dude. Aijin lets out a soft sigh. His classmate looks at him with a serious expression. To be honest, I think you were awesome too. Aijin smiles faintly. Suddenly, a fist slams down on the table. Those sitting nearby get nervous. The fist trembles on the table. There's something different about that bastard, says Jisoo Kim. Anger is evident in his gaze. He doesn't fight like a schoolyard bully. Are you just going to sit there and do nothing? Says Huijin, arms crossed. Jisoo Kim shifts in his chair, not responding. He just caught you off guard. You can try again later. The other three remain silent. Jisoo Kim, angry and gesturing, exclaims, shut up, Huijin. Jisoo Kim continues, urging confrontation. You go fight him if you think it's so easy. Huijin, surprised and annoyed, responds, excuse me. Irritated, Huijin challenges him. Don't take it out on me just because some guy humiliated you all. Jisoo Kim, with a defiant look, asks intensely, what did you say? Huijin turns and slams the door, walking down the hallway with determination, muttering disdainfully, losers. They're the ones who couldn't handle just one guy, she says, pursing her lips. In the classroom, a loud noise startles the students as they hear the bang. Meanwhile, Huijin enters the classroom with a serious expression, closely followed by Daniyun, who looks embarrassed and downcast. Huijin addresses Daniyun in a condescending tone. Wow, Aren't you lucky, Danian? Continuing the conversation, Huijin assures Danian, now you can come to school without a care in the world. Then she adds, if anything happens, you can just run and tell your brother. Am I wrong? Smiling subtly. At this, Danny Eon remains silent, her expression one of sadness and worry. Huijin, noticing the lack of response, gets irritated and thinks, is this bitch not paying attention to me? As she observes Danny Eon, who continues to avoid her gaze. Frustrated and angry, Huijin mutters under her breath, watching Danny Eon continue to ignore her. Danny Eon remember Ijin with a somber expression, apparently concerned about the unfolding events. Huijin, with contained anger, reflects on Danian's attitude and wonders. And now am I supposed to just let her do whatever she wants? No way. Showing her growing frustration with the situation. In the sky, clouds are stained with shades of pink and orange. Several students walk in the schoolyard. Daeon walks alone ahead, focused on her phone. Daeon adjusts her backpack as she looks forward with a serious expression and remember Ijin observing from the side, showing a thoughtful expression and saying, they are the ones who should be apologizing, not you. Ijin smiles confidently and says, we're a family, so. Danyeon asks herself, can I now come to school without worrying? Huijin confronts Daeon, saying, why did you take so long, bitch? A girl exclaims in frustration, I'm starving because of you. A sound is heard coming from a building. In the school cafeteria, Huijin confronts Daeon, threatening and demanding not to be contradicted. Terrified, Daeon questions if this means they will stop hurting her. Outside, Daeon and Ijin walk together. Daeon seems distracted, and when Ijin asks if she's thinking about something, she's startled to hear her name. He tells her he called her a couple of times. Daeon apologizes, admitting she didn't hear him and asks if he was waiting for her again. Ijin jokes about how she still doesn't know the way home by herself. Daeon suggests they stop by a store to buy some food and asks if Ijin needs anything. She mentions that she always likes to have dinner ready for her grandfather, who is happy when he comes home late and finds it prepared. In the end, Daeon and Ijin continue their way while she looks around, illustrating a growing closeness between them. Huijin appears saying, just look at the smug smile on that bitch's face. We'll see how long that smile lasts. Daeon thinks to herself, knowing he was very popular in school, but it seems he also catches attention elsewhere. She asks him, did you ever have a girlfriend when you were abroad? Revealing that he didn't, Daeon inquires, why? I see that you are very popular with the girls. He smiles and looks at her, saying, I was busy. She turns her gaze away and thinks, what was I thinking? It's obvious he was busy adapting to another culture. He also asks her, and do you have a boyfriend? She, embarrassed and surprised, responds, no. He asks, why not? She looks at him and says, I'm also busy. As the evening ambience settles over the illuminated house, their grandpa hands Ijin a box containing a new phone, saying, here you go, Ijin. The phone is a Samsung, the latest model. All the kids have one these days, you'll surely like it. Danyeon, totally surprised because her grandpa bought a phone just for Ijin, stares at him while Ijin checks out the phone with a mix of surprise and gratitude. Grandpa, understandingly smiling, mentions he knows kids love to get new stuff, showing how much he wants to see his grandson happy. Grateful, Ijin tells him it's cool that Grandpa opened the box to save the numbers, showing how much he appreciates the gesture. Grandpa keeps chatting, hoping Daeyeon isn't upset because he didn't get her a phone too, but he promises her he'll get her one soon. A bit shocked, Daeyeon replies that her phone still works, downplaying the need for a new one. The story continues in a warm, family atmosphere, with Grandpa and Daeyeon smiling, happy with Ijin's new phone and the promise of more to come. Ijin, super thankful for the gift, thanks his grandpa, telling him how much he loves his new phone, leaving Grandpa filled with joy. Then, Ijin heads to his room, reflecting on the day as he relaxes in bed, staring at the ceiling with a look of someone who is both thinking and content. In another scene, Commander Kong looks surprised and somewhat annoyed as he sees Ijin sending him a message from a new number. But, didn't you give him a phone, sir? Yes, Kong replies. Sometimes people have preferences for more popular brands. But how is that possible if I gave him the most expensive phone? Maybe he didn't like that brand. In the bathroom, Ijin wraps a towel around his head while he dries off. As he steps out, he runs into Danyeon in the hallway, who looks at him surprised and asks if he's heading out early again. She says yes and that she's already running late. Just leave the dishes in the sink, she tells him as she rushes out. In the kitchen, Ijin, still with the towel on his head, is surprised to see the food on the table. Danyeon checks her phone and says, "Looks like I'll make it on time. It took me longer than expected to make the soup, but I'm glad Grandpa really liked it." Danyeon smiles, happy to have done something good for her grandfather, who is a central figure in her life. As she hurries to school, her quick and light step causes a small piece of her soul to slip, almost as if speeding up the unfolding events. Suddenly, the unexpected impact of a baseball bat makes her scream and knocks her to the ground. Confused and dazed from the blow, Danyeon is confronted by a group of masked people. One of them, the leader, scolds her harshly for not watching where she is going. After a tense moment, he demands an apology while his companions watch with intimidating glances. Danyeon, still shaken by the sudden aggression and with an almost twisted ankle, bows in a deep bow, murmuring an apology in a trembling voice. Trying to lighten the atmosphere and regain some normalcy, her attackers suggest going to karaoke to blow off steam, thus diverting the hostility of the moment to a less confrontational activity. It seems that music might be their escape, or at least a brief respite from the tension of the confrontation. One of the attackers crouches down and says, "You're coming with us, aren't you, Danyeon?" That voice, I know it. It's Huijin, Danyeon thinks to herself. In a room at a karaoke place, the attackers are seen leaving as the employee bids them farewell, saying, "Come back soon." The youth these days, I don't know why they were shouting so much during their songs, he says as he walks towards the room. He cautiously peers through a slightly open door, where there seems to be an emergency. Upon entering the room, he discovers Danyeon lying on the floor near a pool of blood. Visibly shocked and concerned, he approaches her to check her condition. "Hey, are you okay?" he asks. Danyeon, with swollen and tearful eyes, leans forward, appearing weak and distressed as she gathers her school materials. The venue's worker approaches her, concerned about her state, and suggests calling an ambulance, but she refuses the help, insisting that she is fine. Ignoring the concerns, Daeyeon hastily leaves the place with her backpack. At school, a teacher asks about Daeyeon, noticing her absence, while her classmates comment on how unusual it is for her to miss without notice, increasing the concern for her well-being. The woman with the curlers seems worried and asks, "Do you think we'll be okay, Huijin?" She responds, "Why wouldn't we be? We have nothing to do with Daeyeon's absence." She smiles with a worried face, saying, "Of course we have nothing to do with it," while our blonde looks as if everything went perfectly. Outside the school building, the dismissal bell rings. Ijin is seen looking around for Daeyeon but can't find her. He tries calling her, but when she doesn't answer the phone, he assumes she has already gone home. Ijin arrives at the house and notices her shoes are there. He takes off his backpack and knocks on the door. Ijin asks Danyeon to let him in for a second, but Danyeon responds that she can't because she's in bed feeling unwell. Ijin asks if she is sick and if she feels very bad, to which Danyeon responds that she just has a little fever and will be fine after some sleep. Ijin offers his help in case she needs anything, but thinks maybe he should get her some medicine. As he walks down the hallway, he stops to reflect, looks at Daeyeon's shoes, and realizes they are covered in blood. Sunlight streams through a window. An open first aid kit is visible and someone is moaning in pain. Ijim is next to Danyeon, who is in bed and appears injured. Ijim asks, "Does it hurt a lot?" Danyeon, with a patch on her cheek and bloodstains on her shirt, replies, "No, just a little." Ijim advises her to be more careful and jokingly asks if she fell down the stairs while trying to dodge a bicycle. Danyeon confirms that she did. Ijim jokes that it looks like the bicycle really ran her over, which makes Danyeon laugh. Ijim asks if she's sure she doesn't need to see a doctor. Danyeon insists she is fine and thinks, "If I go to the hospital, they'll find out I didn't get hurt falling down the stairs." In the principal's office, Huijin anxiously wonders, "Why am I in trouble?" Then, hands on her hips, she demands to know, "Why are they asking me how she got hurt?" Daeyeon appears dejected and injured. She confronts Huijin in the presence of the police and another seated woman, asserting, "Because it was you." Huijin calmly responds, "Of course not." Daeyeon insists determinedly, "You covered your face with a mask and a hat, but I know it was you. I heard your voice, and your way of speaking was the same." To which Huijin responds with a defiant attitude about the alleged bullying Daeyeon has done to her. Finally, Huijin challenges Dayan's logic, questioning, "Just because we haven't exactly been friends?" The tension rises. Huijin's mother, outraged, confronts everyone present, fiercely defending her daughter. "What does all this mean?" she shouts angrily. "You call the police and treat my daughter like a criminal. Just because of a ridiculous hunch?" The lawyer tries to calm her down, but she vehemently refuses. "No, I will not calm down." Dayan, injured and confused, insists. "It's obvious it was Huijin. Why does nobody believe me?" In a moment of escalating tension, Huijin's mother demands, "Apologize to my daughter immediately. Who taught you to lie like this?" She turns to the police and points at Dayan, directly accusing her. Dayan, nearly in tears, repeats, "But it really was Huijin." Huijin's mother, exasperated, criticizes everyone in the room. "I can't believe your bad manners." Finally, she decrees, "Enough. I will talk to your parents about this matter." Dayan, now completely alone and marginalized, feels deeply wronged. "Call them to come here," she mutters, knowing things are about to get even more difficult for her. After the encounter with the police, Dayan appears shocked and injured, reflecting in the darkness. Huijin and her mother show sinister expressions. Dayan thinks about the difficulty of her situation due to the lack of evidence and her concern about not alarming her grandfather, who has heart problems. In another scene, Daeyeon is surprised by Ijin, who finds her in a vulnerable state. Ijin approaches with concern and examines Dayan's injuries. He carefully adjusts Dayan's bandage, asking her if it's too tight, to which she replies that it's perfect. Daeyeon expresses her hope that her grandfather won't worry too much about her situation. Ijin assures Daeyeon that she doesn't have to worry and that he will take care of everything while she rests. Daeyeon looks somewhat relieved and grateful. Ijin leaves the room, leaving Daeyeon resting in bed. She thinks to herself, "I did the right thing by not telling him. There's nothing that teenagers like us can do about it." He gently closes the door behind him and stands thinking. In a nightclub called Club Wolf, pink neon lights set the pace on a staircase. The whole school is talking about what happened yesterday, about how he managed to beat all of us, even you. One of the classmates tells Jisoo Kim. "So, what's the plan, Jisoo?" asks one of them, breaking the silence. The response is quick. Another of those present points out with frustration. "Our only problem was underestimating that bastard. We can handle him if we have a plan." "Yeah, man. We can't let him get away with it," comments another, his voice tinged with defiance. The consensus is clear and resolute. They all agree that their opponent will stand no chance against them. Three shadowy figures comment, "Fighting one-on-one is not our style. Screw that. Tomorrow we'll attack him by surprise and give it our all." Say two more. The illuminated screen shows someone calling. Jisoo Kim lights a cigarette while asking, and the person on the phone says, "Jisoo, you and those idiots still wasting time at the club? Tell me what you want, or I hang up," says Jisoo Kim. Meanwhile, the voice on the phone tells him, "You owe me one." "What are you talking about?" He responds, "Today I gave Daeyeon what she deserved. We can't let people think she's untouchable because of what happened." Jisoo Kim, smiling with the phone in his hand, proudly says, "God, you really are my sister. You did well. Anyway, we were planning to pay that bastard a visit." The tension escalates when, in the hallway, someone enters the room, leaving them shocked at who has just arrived. It's Ijin, with a very serious and dangerous look. "What the hell? Who does he think he is entering our territory?" Jisoo's sister asks over the phone. Meanwhile, Ijin keeps walking. "I can't believe it," says Jisoo Kim. "I was dying for a rematch with..." Out of nowhere, Ijin grabs the face of one of the thugs and crushes it very quickly. As the next one approaches, Ijin clenches his fist, smashes the guy's face, and sends him sprawling. The others, surprised and furious, quickly swarm over the table. Ijin meets the first with a kick right in the face, grabs him by the shirt, and throws him again, then clenches his fist and smashes his face too. Another grabs a bottle. Ijin turns and surprises him with a punch, sending him flying. The last one tries to hit him from behind, but Ijin ducks, grabs his arm, and hits him harshly, sending him to the ground along with the other companions. He grabs his face and finishes him off with another blow that crushes his nose. Ijin stands up with a very serious face. Jisoo Kim is in shock. "Jisoo, what's happening there?" asks his sister. Meanwhile, Ijin turns around and says, "Jisoo Kim, do I really need to explain?" I thought I told you to leave my sister alone.